new Iron Beam laser-based air defensive system is revealed for the first time on the same day as the Air Force conducts another long-range strike in Yemen, and the ground maneuver in the Gaza Strip continues to bring Hamas to its knees. Welcome to Boots on the Ground live version. I'm Yair Pinto, bringing you the weekly recap of the top stories and some stories that slipped past during our regular weekly reports. This is the whole truth about what is happening in Israel. Our top story today is Wednesday's airstrike against the international airport in Sana'a, Yemen. Israel's defense minister declared following the strike that the Houthis' last aircraft was destroyed. They are under the sea and the air blockade. If the secondary explosions that took the airport after Israeli missiles struck are any indication, the cargo plane that he's talking about was packed with explosives, presumably meant to be used in weapons that the Houthis planned to fire at Israel, but instead they blew up right there on the runway of their own airport, so they won't be coming our way. Any weapons that do end up coming our way from now on will not only face the Iron Dome, David Sling, and the Arrow interceptor systems. From now on, they will also face the Iron Beam laser-based interceptor. This is a game changer, and this is yet another worldwide first for Israel, ruling out the future of defense systems. I'm talking about an announcement this week that the Iron Beam has in fact already been used to intercept several incoming missiles and rockets. The announcement was done yesterday in a joint system by the defense ministries DDR&D, the Air Force, and Rafael, the Israeli defense tech firm which developed the systems. Defense industry officials believe that the system, called Magen Or in Hebrew and Light Shield in English, will become fully operational very soon. But that's not the only new innovation coming out of Israel this week. The Navy has revealed that a new design for ships are about to change the battle at sea forever. These unmanned combat vessels are meant to guard Israel's economic waters and protect strategic assets, a step that marks a conceptual shift in Israel's maritime capability. Of course, there's been a lot going on in Israel over the last 24 hours, and I see in the comments section what you're interested in hearing about. So here we go, boots on the ground style. 600 days into this war, some things are winding down while others are heating up. In Gaza, Hamas has spun a fake news story about a halt in the activity of the Gaza Aid Foundation, and on the other hand, reports indicate that Hamas warehouse was broken into and looted by hungry, angry, desperate residents this week. And unconfirmed reports say that 5 people were hit by Hamas fire during the riots that took place there, and we'll have some more details for you later in this report. In any case, this is another sign that the blame for the many civilian deaths in Gaza falls on Hamas, which cynically uses the civilian population as human shields and refuses to care for them despite calling itself the government of the Gaza Strip. And speaking of which, Hamas also made another statement this week that they have reached an agreement on a ceasefire framework based on the terms presented by the United States Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. But Israeli officials were quick to call them out on this obvious lie, while Americans refused to comment until they'd received some clarification. And speaking of a need to clarify, the news can be very confusing lately, as many reports say that there is a dispute between the United States and Israel, but maybe that's only one side of the story, because the situation is much more three-dimensional. All the news reports are highlighting a statement that President Trump made that he told Netanyahu not to strike Iran, while in Israel, officials are saying that they've promised not to make a surprise attack without telling their American counterparts first. But while all of this back and forth talks has been going on in public, the United States military has quietly increased its deployment at a large airbase of Diego Garcia, the island in the Indian Ocean that is out of range of Iran's ballistic missiles, but from which the United States strategic bombers can easily reach Iran. Satellite photographs of the base released this week indicate the presence of increased numbers of airborne refueling aircrafts and F-15S. Iran's military has tried to convince the political echelon that there is a need for a preemptive strike on the base of Diego Garcia, and from Iran's perspective, I would actually say that's not a bad idea. But again, their most potent weapons, their ballistic missiles, do not have the range to hit this base, and even if they did, it's a relatively small island, very far away from Iran, and it would be hard to hit. There are reports that Iran has drones that have the range to just barely get to Diego Garcia, but they fly slowly and would be easy for the Americans' defensive systems to intercept. So that leaves us with the ongoing nuclear negotiations between Iranian and American diplomats, which seem to be going nowhere, very slowly, which suits the Iranians just fine, since they've got every reason to drag this process as long as they can, while their scientists race towards a nuclear weapons capability. President Donald Trump said this week that we are close to an agreement that will make Iran a great country. Candidly, I have no idea what that means, and I doubt that the Iranians know what to think about this either. There is a possibility that President Trump has found out what Iran's price would be for agreeing to ceasing the enrichment of uranium, or maybe it's just a negotiation tactic. In any case, there is reason to believe that there might be a dramatic shift in negotiations this week, and we'll have some more details about that later in the report. And finally, Israel's campaign against the Houthis took another dramatic turn this week when the Air Force carried out another long-range strike to hit the international airport in Sana'a in Yemen. And Israeli officials said that although the Houthis wanted to put Israel under an air and sea blockade, now they are the ones who have lost the ability to receive aid from Iran through their own sea and airports. So guys, we have a lot to discuss about today, so let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground, live version, weekly report on everything that's happening in Israel on day 600 of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, the Shia militias in Iraq, and all the other armed groups in this region who are taking their orders from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, the head of the axis of evil in the Middle East. And today, you are here with me, one-on-one, delving into the depth of the truth of what's happening in Israel. So it's very important for me that you will know what's happening so that you'll know how to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And really, thank you for standing with us throughout this war. It's been 601 days since this war started. And because of your support, we can share the truth. And guys, if you want to help us create more videos just like this one, please go to tbnisrael.com/give and donate. Your donation will enable us to create more videos like this one from Israel, from the heart of this land, all the way to you, so you'll know what's going on, boots on the ground, and you can pray for the situation. By the way, today I'm coming to you from northern Judea and Samaria. This is a Hayovel area. There's like vines here and amazing agricultural of Israelis in the biblical heartland of Israel. Just take a look, it's really nice. Okay, in the meantime, you can share, like, and subscribe. So now, to start our news report, we're shifting our focus to Israel's southern border, the battle against the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen. On Wednesday morning, without prior warning, the Air Force struck the international airport in Sana'a, Yemen's capital city. The defense minister, Israel Katz, issued a statement confirming the strike and announced the operation's name, Golden Jew. He added that the Israeli Air Force aircraft has just struck terrorist targets of the Houthi terror organization at Sana'a, which is an airport, and destroyed the last aircraft remaining in Houthi use. This is a clear message and a direct confrontation of the policy that we are setting against the Houthis. Whoever fires at the state of Israel will pay a very heavy price. The ports in Yemen will continue to suffer severe damage. Sana'a airport will be destroyed again and again, and so will other strategic infrastructures used by the Houthi terrorist organization and its supporters. The Houthi terror organization will be under a naval and aerial siege as we promised and warned. This is according to the Israeli Defensive Ministry. Whoever harms us will be harmed sevenfold. The IDF spokesperson also announced that IDF struck a short time ago at the main airport in Sana'a and also struck an aircraft of the Houthi terrorist organization. The aircraft that was struck had been used by the Houthi terrorist group to transfer terrorists who advanced terror operations against the state of Israel. And like the port of Hodeidah and El Salif, which were struck last week, the main airport in Sana'a is routinely operated by the Houthi regime and serves for its terror purposes. This is another example of the cruel use of the Houthi terrorist organization of civilian infrastructure for terror operations for Iran and for other terrorist proxies that want to destroy Israel. So the IDF is determined to continue acting forcefully against anyone who possesses a threat to the citizens of the State of Israel at whatever distance that is required. And with that in mind, it is important to take a note of the fact that although Wednesday morning strikes were intended to damage Yemen's economic capabilities and impose isolation from the world, Israel is limited in its operational and intelligence capabilities to conduct a long campaign against the Houthis in Yemen and achieve a classic win, basically, decision in this ground. The reasons are many and varied, starting with the fact that Yemen lies in Israel's third to fourth circle, making continuous intelligence collection and movement of forces and strike force very complicated. Basically, Yemen is very, very far from Israel. And beyond that, the Houthis operate from desert areas with some of their assembly zones in natural caves and tunnels, making them hard to find and target before they're launched. In addition, the regime is clan-based and the population is third world. And Israel's military is designed to fight 21st century wars against near-peer adversaries. But not a perfect metaphor. But imagine having a state-of-the-art remote control with all the latest internet and cable options, which you point at a television set from the 1950s and start pushing buttons all around. You won't have much success changing the channel on that old TV. That's kind of what it's like trying to fight the Houthis using the IDF. In such a situation, to significantly harm the Houthis, action is required with minimum military force and maximum effect. One way is to create governmental instability by encouraging parts of the population to rebel against the regime, but this is a long and complex process. And another way, which Israel has chosen, is to damage Yemen's ability to communicate with the outside world and to prevent or limit the entry of weapons into Yemen, along with the fuel and other essential equipment needed to fire them at Israel. Such a move may also promote the stabilization of this regime in this place, in Yemen. Basically, will harm them to create more launch sites and recruit more terrorists. And as part of this strategy, the IDF carries out strikes every few weeks in which it damages the airport and the seaport infrastructures and disables them for several weeks up to a month. The fact that the Houthis and the runway at Sana'a's airport led Israel to carry out a complementary move this week, destroying the last aircraft that was left by the Houthis, shows the severeness of the Israeli approach against this terrorist organization. So because the seaports were hit more than 2 weeks ago, it is likely that if the Houthis continue to fire missiles at Israel, the Air Force of Israel will soon have to carry out the maintenance treatment of another strike on their piers that the Yemenis are working to repair. That will cause severe destruction to this country. Guys, do remember that at the beginning of the month, the Air Force struck Yemen's international airport, along with 3 aircrafts of the national airline Yemen. Yemen's national airline is the backbone of the country's air traffic, and until recently, the fleet included about 5 aircrafts, mostly Airbus A320 and A310 models, and alongside several older planes that were removed from service or parked in non-active condition. This small fleet of planes was used to move weapons, fuel missile components, and other contraband from Iran to Yemen for the Houthis to use, but they won't be doing that any longer. And in any case, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on every development regarding the situation in Yemen, and as always, we ask you to support us by sharing our videos on YouTube, following us on social media, and clicking the subscribe button if you haven't already. So guys, now we're switching our focus to the Gaza Strip, where Hamas is claiming to have agreed to the Wittka framework for a ceasefire, but Israeli officials are saying that the lie is meant to play a psychological warfare against Israel and also against the Americans. Meanwhile, on Wednesday evening, for the first time, hundreds of Gazans broke inside the Hamas food warehouse, and it has flour depots in the El Mawasi area of Khan Yunis, and looted it. This is civilian population of Gaza breaking into a Hamas storage facility. This is a significant escalation in Gazan resistance to Hamas's control of resources in the Gaza Strip, and a first act of practical opposition and looting of food that Hamas steals from the residents of Gaza. And according to reports from witnesses on the ground in Gaza, unknown individuals broke into the El Jafari warehouse on Salah el-Adin Street, confiscating the flour inside and distributed it to the people of Gaza. The warehouses were reportedly completely looted, and 5 Gazans were wounded in clashes with Hamas gunmen. And in related news, the American distribution station on the Morag corridor opened this morning despite Hamas's attempts to prevent the civilian population in Gaza from reaching the distribution points. A security source told Ma'ariv, an Israeli newspaper, this is the fall of the barrier of fear of Hamas. It's a significant development. Israeli officials explained that the real test for Hamas is the arrival of Gazan residents at the distribution stations. The fact that tens of thousands reached the 2 distribution stations is a statement that Hamas is losing control in the Gaza Strip. Following Tuesday's chaos during the humanitarian aid distribution in the Tel Sultan neighborhood of Rafah camp in the Gaza Strip, conflicting reports circulated at noon on Wednesday about renewed riots in that location and a temporary suspension of distribution. Reuters carried a statement by the Gazan Humanitarian Foundation, GHF, reporting riots and suspension. Immediately afterwards, the foundation published its own statement saying that the Hamas terrorist organization opened an imposter page and spread fake messages regarding the aid distribution. Furthermore, the foundation announced that it is continuing its activity with the opening of another safe distribution site and ongoing aid distribution without incidents. According to the statement, the humanitarian situation in Gaza requires urgent aid. Yet with every passing hour, more people receive food, and with it, dignity and hope. The foundation is on the verge and working on the ground. They are beginning their work. So we thank those who stand by us to bring life-saving aid directly into the hands of the Gaza residents. The foundation detailed its activities during the day and emphasized 2 GHF safe distribution sites are operating at full capacity, Tel El Sultan and Morag in the Gaza Strip. Today, the Morag site distributed all available aid without incidents. This is equivalent to about 8 trucks, and at the 2 sites together, about 14,550 food boxes have been distributed so far. Each box feeds an average of 5.5 people for 3.5 days, a total of about 840 and 262,000 meals. They added that activity is expected to expand to the 4 sites, with plans to set up additional sites across the Gaza Strip in the coming weeks. The foundation also issues clarification about yesterday's events. And according to the statement, against the background of misinformation spread on social media networks, we've finished to clarify several facts. Okay, several facts that we really need to clarify is one, a claim was made that the Palestinians were arrested or questioned, and this is not true. No one was arrested or even questioned because the GHF has no authority to arrest or investigate anybody. Another claim is that shots were fired at Palestinians trying to receive aid and there were fatalities. Once again, this is untrue. No shots were fired at Palestinian crowd at the sites and there were no casualties. GHF anticipated the pressure at the sites due to the severe hunger and the blockades imposed by Hamas and conditions that create danger outside of the gates. And in accordance with the protocol, the team chose to relax security procedures temporarily to avoid violence because of the crowd's reaction for food on this site. No one was harmed, no damage occurred, and all the food was distributed without interruption. Order was restored quickly and without incidents. So according to local reports in Gaza, with the beginning of the aid box distribution, the prices of several basic staples such as cooking oil, sugar, and flour are starting to drop in the Gaza markets, finally. And now, speaking of statements, I have a statement of my own about what we're seeing and hearing in the Gaza Strip. The reason for the rate amongst the civilian population in the Gaza Strip that they don't have the food is because the terrorist organizations, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, use the civilian population as human shields. They do that in multiple ways. They do that, first of all, by selling them the aid that is given to them for free by the international community. And they also do that by placing their command stations, their firing positions inside hospitals, inside schools, and inside humanitarian buildings. Guys, for years, long before this war started, it has been crystal clear that Hamas and the other terrorist organizations in the Gaza Strip deliberately place their headquarters, their rocket launch sites, and their ambushes inside civilian population. They know that the IDF takes this into account under a name principle of popularity and population, and on the assumption that if civilians are harmed, it will serve as a propaganda tool against Israel. What's more is it's been proven that many civilians in Gaza willingly and ideologically cooperate with the terrorist organizations. We have already seen quite a few tunnels emerging from residential homes and from civilian buildings. Nevertheless, it must be reiterated that harming civilians out of revenge is absolutely forbidden under international law, and especially because the IDF is a moral and ethical army. So guys, please keep spreading the truth, share, and follow us. And most importantly, don't forget to click that subscribe button so that you stay tuned to the truth in real time. And also, if you want, you can press the super thank you button. It really helps us moving on and creating more content and sharing what's happening in Israel with you. And now, we're keeping our focus on Hamas in the Gaza Strip by shifting to another threat of operation, the diplomatic and psychological war that Hamas continues to wage against Israel. In a statement released this week, the terror organization claims it reached an agreement with the American envoy Steve Witkoff on a general framework that will achieve a permanent ceasefire, a full withdrawal from Gaza, a committee to control the Gaza Strip, and the flow of humanitarian aid. The framework agreement includes the release of 10 living hostages and several remains of hostages who have died in captivity in exchange for the release of security prisoners held in Israeli jails. Hamas added that it is awaiting a final response for this framework. In response, an Israeli source says the Hamas terrorist organization continues its propaganda and psychological warfare, as the president's special envoy himself, Steve Witkoff, said 2 days ago. While Israel agreed to the Witkoff framework, Hamas continues to adhere to its refusal. Hamas's proposal is unacceptable neither to Israel note to the American administration. The source added, "We are unaware of any Hamas agreement with the United States of America. Hamas's attempts to use the Witkoff framework brand to advance its vision will not succeed. Israel has firmly rejected the ideas presented by Hamas in recent days, and so has the United States. The only proposal on the table is Witkoff's proposal from the beginning of last week." The Americans also confirmed that this is the same proposal from 2 or 3 days ago, the one that Witkoff publicly criticized. In other words, United States envoy Steve Witkoff made a proposal to both sides which Israel accepted, but Hamas made its own proposal, which Israel has already rejected. It tried to attach Steve Witkoff's name to this proposal and announced that it has accepted this idea. As a bonus, they also tried to complain to the international community that they'd accepted the idea, but Israel hadn't, which is the exact opposite of the truth. And sadly, as so often happens, many in the international media went along with this deception, either willingly or because they were too lazy to check the facts before reporting that Hamas's narrative to the wide world and basically accepting a deal that was not even on the table. So guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to bring you all the truth in this live edition, but we have to keep going because we have a lot to get through today. So I just want to call on you again, invest in TBN Israel, in the work that we do. You can donate at tbnisrael.com/give and help us create more content from the land of Israel so that you'll know how to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Guys, and now let's move on to the information that everybody is waiting for about the operational deployment of the Iron Beam laser system that Israel is launching. I'm talking about successes on an international scale, as many countries I think have tried this, but Israel successfully deployed the laser defensive system, and there are also official reports now that indicate that after many months, the Israeli Ministry of Defense has permitted the publication. During the Iron Swords War, the defense establishment succeeded in intercepting dozens of unmanned aircrafts using lasers. This is really unprecedented. Basically, Israel destroyed drones using lasers throughout this war. And this is the first time this is happening in the world. It's good news for all of us, countries that are fighting terrorism and want to destroy the enemies in the attacks cheaper. But a moment before we talk about that, I'm calling on all of you to, first of all, subscribe, share, and like TBN Israel. If you want to help us, you can also hit that super thank you button, or go to tbnisrael.com/give. Every dollar that you do will help us create more videos and share the truth. I am even stopping the car because this is very exciting and I should focus when I tell you about this laser report. It's super cool. So over the years, Israel has built itself a reputation as a global leader in air defensive capabilities. And after many publications and many reports about the development of a new laser-based system, on Wednesday, it was announced that during the Iron Swords War, the Directorate of Defense, the Research and Development in the Ministry of Defense, the Air Force, and Rafael, an Israeli military expert and industry maker, led an accelerated process to activate the new interception system, and within which the Israeli air defensive fighters intercepted dozens of enemy targets. The Ministry of Defense and the Israeli Defensive Forces says that the systems are based on technological breakthrough and that was achieved over decades at Rafael and the Ministry of Defense's unit. They add that the laser systems are an additional protective layer of energy/weapon system that was under development in the ministry. In addition to the light shield, The system now is being developed and expected to be developed to the IDF this year. So this is very exciting because it's going to be widely distributed in the coming year, and it has been used now. So it's really good. And during the war, the Air Force, the personnel, the men and women of the Air Defensive Array studied and deployed the laser systems in the field and achieved exceptionally high interception successes that saved civilian lives and protected the national assets of Israel. In another word, the system has already been operating for almost a year without a public announcement that was being made. So it's already out there. The commander of the Air Force and the Air Defense Array, Brigadier General, said that first operational achievement of the laser systems intercepting a significant number of aircrafts and weapons during the war are a source of Israeli pride in the development and the protectional capability of the Ministry of Defense and the defensive industries of Israel, and pride in the ability that the Air Force personnel led the air defensive fighters to observe and operate new advanced means in the midst of combat and in the midst of this war. This achievement is the fruit of many people's labor, excellent individuals determined to do everything possible for the defensive and the defense of this country, Israel. This is an unprecedented operational use of a technology that has been in development for many years, and Israel is the first country in the world to use it in significant combat. It was further stated that during the fighting, the air defensive fighters deployed the new systems in the field and succeeded in intercepting enemy targets that were launched from Lebanon, thereby protecting civilian lives in Israel and strategic assets. The systems are based on breakthrough by Rafael and other research companies and development units in Israel, and they form another defensive layer alongside the existing systems, Iron Dome, David Sling, Arrow. And moving forward, the Defense Ministry and industry in Israel expect the Light Shield, that's the name of it, Magen Or, to become fully operational in the near term, and afterwards, a massive production run of the system is expected to help the defensive industries that are including also Rafael and Lockheed Martin. So the first production phase will be financed by Israel, and afterwards from an American budget that was already approved in this country. In any case, the State of Israel is the first country in the world to present a massive operational laser interception capability. Congratulations, Israel. And the Ministry of Defense has for years, together with the defensive industries and the startup companies in Israel, led the powerful laser development effort. And now that effort is paying off literally by saving the IDF enormous amounts of money on every interceptor, because using the laser is basically just the price of electricity and maintenance. Israel will continue advancing that technology, and it will provide the IDF with state-of-the-art systems and technologies that will continue to turn this vision into security in the air, in the sea, in the land, and in every dimension using these lasers. I can't wait to see what Israel will do with these laser technologies. And the Defense Minister, Israel Katz, of course, welcomes the laser systems that are becoming operational, saying that the laser systems in Israel and Israel's weapons and defensive weapons are shaping the future. So upon taking office, Defense Minister ordered the systems development and ordered it to be accelerated and made operational out of understanding and recognition of its vital importance in this war. And now it is already actively defending the nation's skies and achieving exceptional operational results. The ability to turn a complex technological vision into a reality in a short time is unparalleled, and it's proof of the power, the quality, and the innovation of Israel's defensive industries, together with the best and most advanced in the world. So the laser systems gives Israel an additional interception layer, precise, inexpensive, and fast, that will change the rules of the game in this region and significantly improve the defensive capabilities of Israel and actually the defense of our citizens. So our enemies should feel not only the capabilities that we have already developed, but also those that have not yet been developed. So that's very exciting, because instead of paying tens of thousands of dollars for each interception of a missile that costs, I don't know, hundreds or maybe a tenth of the price, now the laser is a lot cheaper and can save a lot of money and is doing the job. Okay, so I congratulate all the dedicated people who took part in this achievement. Thank you, and thanks to you, Israel's citizens are safer. Okay, but that's not the only big announcement that the IDF made this week. The IDF officially disclosed this week that the Navy has begun to operate unmanned vessels in Israel's economic waters. The craft can build a broad maritime picture and monitor and characterize the movement of vessels in the exclusive economic zone of Israel's coasts. That's great news. The Navy says that data gathered and collected and documented and used by the IDF to analyze the threats, employ forces in the maritime arena, and protect Israel's strategic assets in a significant reinforcement to Israel's defensive capabilities. This is important for many reasons, as the Navy is becoming more important in Israel's defense posture. And during the Swords of Iron war, the Navy stepped up beyond its classic missions to work closely with the maneuvering forces. We've seen that happening in the Gaza Strip, also in Lebanon. They created firepower and observation that changed the battlefield, and the IDF already notes that the Navy's Flotilla 3 and missile boat Flotilla have, during the war, been doing an amazing job in cooperation and coordination with the ground forces and other forces in the IDF. So it really helped the maneuvering forces in Gaza and Lebanon. And with that in mind, the Ministry of Defense in Israel signed an agreement recently to build 5 new Reshef-class missile ships that are developed according to the Navy's unique operational needs at Israel's shipyards in Haifa. The total cost of the program is estimated at 2.4 billion shekels. So guys, this is great news. Thank you for standing with Israel. I want to call on all of you to keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem, to stand with the Jewish people in this war to defend our lives. Thank you for joining me today. I want to hear from you in the comments. What do you want me to talk about next time we go live, or next time we are doing a podcast? Thank you for your prayers. This is what means the world to us. Your prayers is what helps us and keeps us going, because this is a spiritual war. We need your help. But when you pray, please pray for the family unit in Israel, because it is being attacked for many days, about 601 days so far. And there are many divorces going on in the country. And if you want to pray for something that is very needed, it's for the family unit, for the husband, the wife, and the children during this war, because they're affected the most. So guys, keep praying for the peace of Israel. Thank you so much for everything that you've been doing, and see you again next time.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at TBN.